From having her parents wipe her clean after she goes to the toilet and spending all of her disability allowance on fast food and junk food, it's easy to see why many 600-pound Life fans call Jeanne Covey selfish and spiteful, and this episode features some of the most disgusting scenes I have covered yet. Not only are there physically disgusting scenes, like when Dr. Now questioned whether she was wiping properly, but emotionally awful scenes too, as we will come to see very soon. Starting out though, 36-year-old Jeanne is almost completely immobile, relying on her elderly parents to do everything for her. From making her meals to wiping after her after she's been in the toilet, her parents bear the brunt of her care. Jeanne suffers daily due to her chronic obesity and health issues because of her weight. After gaining extra weight, Jeanne could no longer use the shower after an extremely bad fall, and due to her size, meant that she became trapped there for hours. This means that she relies on her mother to wash her while in bed using a bowl and washcloth, a humiliating ordeal for both participants. From her bed, Jeanne commands her family to complete the various tasks she requires in order to keep her comfortable. And we learn the root cause of Jeanne's food addiction.
I'm happy as long as I keep eating, so I think that feeling is what I'm addicted to. Ever since I was a child, I knew I could use food to escape whatever it was I was dealing with when things got really bad.
Growing up with a single mother, Jeanne lived with her grandma a lot of the time due to her mother working 2 jobs to earn enough money to support the family. But Jeanne's grandma was very abusive towards her, often hitting her with metal coat hangers or extension cords as punishment, leaving her with bruises from her neck down to her toes. Jeanne reveals that this spiraled her eating disorder, as she would steal her grandma's sugary soda drinks and snacks as a way of revenge to get back at her for all of the horrible things she'd done.
So when my grandmother would beat me or say something horrible to me, what I would go to make me feel better was food. So I started to get a little chubby then, and I was over 100 pounds by the time I was 6.
Being over 100 pounds at the small age of 6 is over double the average weight of a child that age, putting extreme stress on Jeanne's body, not to mention the traumatic effect on the school playground, as we all know how cruel children can be. Things only got worse for Jeanne, as she was abused by one of her mother's boyfriends, keeping the abuse a secret and using food as a way to soothe herself. This traumatic event was a catalyst for Jeanne, and she unfortunately spiraled, gaining over 100 pounds in just 3 years. As a 9-year-old, she weighed over 200 pounds, the average weight of a 6-foot adult male. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse for Jeanne, you'd be wrong, as her grandma became even more abusive as time went on. Punishments that her grandma gave were bizarre too, like making Jeanne smoke a pack of cigarettes as a preteen. It's very unfortunate that Jeanne just didn't have much support growing up, and wasn't really given much of a chance at life. Jeanne's grandma died when she was 13 years old, and after revealing the extent of her trauma with her mother, it looked like things were going to get better for Jeanne, and she could finally heal and move on with her life. But the pain was still there, and the only way she felt like she could carry on was through food. At 15 years old, Jeanne was over 350 pounds, making her high school life very difficult. Developing depression as a result of all the bullying, Jeanne ended up dropping out at just 17 years old, meaning she wouldn't get any qualifications. This negative spiral just continued, as Jeanne kept eating and eating until she weighed over 400 pounds at the age of 18. Jeanne's weight had massive impact on her lifestyle too, as she found it extremely difficult to do what most people her age could do with ease.
And I tried to get a job and work and get my GED, but it was too hard at my size. And as I got into my 20s, my depression got even worse, and I put on another 100 pounds really quickly. And when I hit 500 when I was around 23, is when I went on disability, because I was starting to have a hard time getting up and doing anything, and it was just impossible for me to work.
And it seems like getting the disability allowance was one of the worst possible things that could have happened to Jeanne, as she now had an excuse to not go to work and just keep eating, because she was being rewarded for it. Jeanne medically had no health conditions at all, but her disability was obesity itself. If Jeanne tried to lose weight, start exercising, and just generally move around a bit, she would have been able to slowly improve her lifestyle and reintegrate into society. But Jeanne just didn't want to do this, and once she got her disability check, she was fully consumed by her addiction.
And because of that, I started mostly just staying home. The only thing I got out for was to go to church. And my world started to become just my house and my mom. And that's the way it was for a while. So my eating didn't change. Except I think I eat more now than I did then. Because my life over the last 10 years has completely become my house. I'm so big I don't even know what I weigh, and I can't even function anymore.
Her lifestyle is probably most people's worst nightmare. She has practically no life. She doesn't leave the house and she has no friends. Jeanne's own mother even has this to say about her situation, which just speaks volumes.
Had I known that she would end up like this, I would have never had her. Not because I don't love her, but because I would have rather died than have her live like she's living.
In reality, Jeanne is just waiting in bed to die and doesn't think that there's any way that she can be helped. Despite this, she has one last chance at changing her life, and that is with an appointment with Dr. Now. Spending years isolated in the house has caused Jeanne to develop severe anxiety, and she's unsure if she will even be able to make it out of the house at all. But a few cigarettes later, Jeanne develops enough courage to make it to the car, having a borderline breakdown on the way.
I'm not getting out here. I don't really have to go right now. I just want a cigarette and I want to try to calm down because I'm getting really anxious.
Get me a soda, a really big one, please. I need something with sugar to help my nerves.
The pain and discomfort Jeanne is experiencing from the car journey is made even worse by her idea that people are constantly staring and laughing at her.
Already staring at me and probably making comments about how big I am. And I don't need to deal with that. So I'm just not getting out because people are jerks.
There were people over there on the grass staring and pointing, just like I told you. And this lady just drove by and slowed down and just stared at me.
You don't have to worry about it. I hate people. I hate people.
They think that having some kind of disability, that it's funny, because they're normal or whatever, but karma's and it will come back on them.
Whether it's fact or fiction, Jeanne is definitely extremely self-conscious about her appearance, feeling like an endangered animal in a zoo. She is obsessed with making sure people can't see her, as she automatically assumes they will just laugh at her weight. From living her entire adult life at home, hardly ever leaving the house, it's clear that this has had a massive negative impact on her mental health, and Jeanne has a lot to recover from, with her weight just being the start of it. Finally arriving in Houston with her first appointment with Dr. Now, Jeanne steps on the scales for the first time in years, weighing 702 pounds, making her one of the heaviest people ever on the show. Jeanne is absolutely mortified to weigh over 4 times the amount of an average person. In her appointment, Jeanne is adamant she won't be able to lose any weight without the surgery, and if she can't have it, she'll just return home and wait to die.
Okay, so how do you think we address that?
I think getting the weight loss surgery, I think that would help.
What is the problem that you think the solution is weight loss surgery?
Because I'm too heavy and I can't do it without it.
Okay, so you decided already what the solution is for your problem. But I got news for you. That solution is not the solution for your problem. Your problem is your eating disorder, and surgery does not correct eating disorder.
Okay, I understand that.
I hope you do.
As we've seen before, the stars just expect to be given weight loss surgery as if this will fix all of their problems. When someone is as overweight as Jeanne, literally over 700 pounds, they're consuming about 8 to 10,000 calories every single day, potentially even more. Their stomachs are stretched to their absolute limit, so they feel much hungrier than the average person, because there's just a massive space to fill. On top of this, Jeanne will still have her habit of binge eating every few hours. The weight loss surgery isn't a miracle cure that will make her cravings all go away. It's a useful tool for weight loss over extended periods of time, but Jeanne doesn't want to say it this way at all.
You are responsible for your behavior, and you are responsible for your eating habit. And surgery is not going to correct that.
No, but it'll give me the tool to help with it.
If you want a different life, you have to be ready to do something about it.
Even looking back at how she gained all of this weight, Jeanne is again being unrealistic, as she can't admit to the extent of her eating. When Dr. Now asks Jeanne what an average day in her life looks like on her diet, Jeanne is anything but honest.
Okay, tell me a typical day. What do you eat?
My dad likes to make eggs and cheese and toast.
Okay, so you eat for lunch usually. What do you eat?
I normally don't eat lunch.
Whatever label you're giving it, what do you eat
Well,
then?
we can call it dinner, but like if we get pizza, I'll have all the pizza except for 2 slices because
I'm hungry.
Okay, so then after that, what do you eat?
If I get hungry, I'll have like an orange.
Then after that,
That's it.
till you go to bed?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, that's a lot, but you're still leaving a lot out because that will get you up to over 700 pounds. So you're already blaming your weight on other things, and now you're lying to me about how much you eat. So I'm very concerned right now.
Now, surprisingly, even when Dr. Now asks Jean's mother what she eats, she lies too, stating that they eat regular meals in small portions and the only snacks they eat are fruit and the occasional half-diet soda drink. If this was true, there would be no way Jeanne would weigh anything close to 700 pounds. And it's always the same with these patients. They think they're the exception of the rule of weight gain. And if you're a subscriber to my channel, which I massively appreciate if you are, you already know that 90% of the patients that see Dr. Now are in this mentality. They seriously believe that they eat the same things as normal people, and the excessive weight gain must be due to some mysterious health issue, or the classic water weight. To make matters worse, Jeanne reveals she's in a lot of pain from a sore on her leg. From Dr. Now's examination, we learn that it's severely infected and is prone to bleeding, because the skin just isn't able to heal properly. Concerned for her, Dr. Now instructs Jeanne to stay a night in the hospital to run some tests and see how serious this issue is. Her skin issue gets dangerous as it begins pouring with blood. In an emergency, Jeanne's mother calls for the nurses to come in. The situation is escalated to Dr. Now, where he finds that, and please be warned, this is genuinely disgusting, Jeanne's mother is not washing her well enough after she uses the bathroom, so her wound has become infected with fecal matter, which Dr. Now has to clean and scrape away from the dead flesh. Her wound is so serious that Dr. Now predicts that if she hadn't come to the hospital when she did, the skin infection would have become even more infected and could have potentially killed her within a few months. Jeanne needs to lose weight immediately, as this is the only way this wound will start to heal properly. After a short while at the hospital on Dr. Now's diet, Jeanne is relieved to find that she weighs 685 pounds, 17 pounds down from when she arrived at her first appointment. By the end of the hospital stay, Jeanne loses 53 pounds in total, making her 650 pounds. Continuing her weight loss at home, Jeanne tries to motivate herself to exercise more by feeding her 9 dogs and refilling their water throughout the day. But this has its negative consequences too, as Jeanne struggles to keep her wound clean because of the bacteria from having so many dogs in such a small house. But Jeanne wants to continue her weight loss journey, asking her mother to follow the meal plan that Dr. Now gave them. Jeanne must lose another 50 pounds by herself within the next month to qualify for weight loss surgery, but as we'll come to see, it won't quite work out that way. At her next appointment a month later, Jeanne steps on the scales again, reading 678 pounds, meaning that Jane gained 29 pounds at home rather than losing 50. Jeanne is mortified over her massive failure, and Dr. Now isn't listening to any of her excuses.
The evidence of what you lose when you're on diet and eating what you should. So there's no way you're eating 1,200 calories. There's no way you're eating 2,000 calories. There's no way you're eating 4,000 calories. That math doesn't add up.
Lying through her teeth yet again, Jeanne is adamant she only ate 1,200 calories a day, sticking to the diet that Dr. Now gave her. But we all know this isn't true. She's desperate for the weight loss surgery and will say absolutely anything in order to qualify for it.
Eating too much.
Okay, I won't overeat anymore. I will make sure that it's the 1,200 calories, because I'm going to prove you wrong that I can do this. I'm going to do it.
You told me 2 months ago that you will do it.
But actually doing the work is a different story. Jeanne's time is running out, and losing the weight is the only way she can avoid certain death, which is achieved by sticking to the weight loss program and shedding the pounds. But her and her mother are in complete denial about her behavior and her diet.
Oh, I understand, but I didn't realize that I was
You're
doing
overeating
it.
yourself and you overfeeding her too.
I understand that. I'm screwing up.
No, you don't. You're both lying. And you don't plan on changing.
If I didn't know I had a problem, I wouldn't be here to begin with. I know that this is my last chance. I know that I'm dying. I know that I'm not gonna make it if I don't get help. And I'm trying to do whatever I can. So I messed up. I'm sorry.
Dr. Now is much nicer than many people would be in this situation, as he gives her another chance and a different goal: 2 months to lose 100 pounds. Now, personally, I'm not confident that she'll do it, but like we saw in my greatest transformations video, people can turn their journey around. And a month later, Jeanne is saying she's making good progress and sticking to her diet, even exercising in bed.
All I need is weight loss surgery. And not only did I not get my approval, I have to go back into the hospital with my mom.
But the cameras only record so much, and the truth will come out when she steps on the scales again in Dr. Now's office. As a month goes by, we get to see just that. According to Jeanne, she has worked as hard as possible to lose the weight, and there's no way she's stepping on that scale and she won't have lost at least 100 pounds. And as you'd have guessed, she was wrong. In the 2 months since Dr. Now gave her a final chance to qualify for weight loss surgery, Jeanne has lost a whopping 7 pounds. Her complete failure leaves her devastated as she loses her big chance for weight loss surgery. Frustrated and upset, Jeanne can't understand why she's barely lost any weight. Dr. Now is quite annoyed with both Jeanne and her mother for their negligence when it comes to her health. But he does notice that Jeanne's wound is getting worse and is fearful that this could severely threaten her life. So he refers her back to the hospital for further tests, just to get an idea of how serious this wound actually is. Upon finding that the infection has become even worse than they initially thought, Dr. Now refers Jeanne to psychotherapy as a last resort to help work through her mental issues, hoping that this will enable her to overcome her struggles and motivate her to focus on the weight loss to literally save her life. Now, in a surprising turn of events, Jeanne's mother becomes extremely sick, as an operation she had the previous year didn't heal properly, causing Dr. Now to perform emergency surgery on her to save her life. This puts massive pressure on Jeanne, as she realizes that without her mother, there really is no one left to take care of her properly. Fortunately, the surgery went very well, and Dr. Now keeps her in the hospital for a while after surgery to try and keep her weight down too, as she's also very overweight. This is quite a wake-up call for Jeanne, as she hates to see her mother in so much pain, so she pledges that she will lose the weight so she can look after her mother, and not the other way around. Things seem to be getting better for Jeanne and her mother, but unfortunately, they do get some terrible news. Jeanne has been calling her father daily, updating them on their situation and how their mother is doing after surgery, but he then stops answering the phone. Concerned for his safety, as this is just totally out of the blue, Jeanne calls 911 and asks the police to do a welfare check on him, just to make sure everything's okay.
I don't know. Was he in the back bedroom?
Is he okay?
Did he look like maybe he passed in his sleep? Okay.
It looked like he just went to sleep and just didn't wake up. I don't think it has really hit me.
Jeanne's mother, Barbara, breaks down as you'd expect. She's just had major surgery and somehow has to find her way to get back home, which is over a 4-hour drive, to make the funeral arrangements. Dr. Now is sympathetic to Barbara and offers his best advice for her to get home quickly.
Let me make some arrangement to get some medical transport for you to get you home safely, okay? Okay.
What about my car? That's the only car I have.
Well, maybe we can get somebody to drive that for you.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it.
So what you need to do every hour, get out of the car and walk for 5-10 minutes so you don't develop blood clot, okay? All right, we make arrangement for you to get back home,
Thank you,
okay?
Doc. I appreciate it.
Sorry about your loss.
This traumatic event completely throws Jeanne off from her weight loss program, which is totally understandable, and Dr. Now advises that she takes the time to recover emotionally before trying to be enrolled in the program again. But it's important to note that Jeanne must keep in her mind that her life is on the line, as her organs are at massive risk of failing, and she can't just slip back into her old habits because of her father's death. With her father gone, Jeanne decided not to return to Houston, as they have no one to look after their dogs if they leave. Without her father around to clean, their home has become extremely dirty, and things don't look very optimistic for Jeanne at all.
Right now, it's not the right time for me to give up food. I'm not in a place physically or mentally to do that.
With Barbara still recovering from her surgery, she's unable to keep the house clean at all, as she is still practically bedbound, and the mess from their 9 dogs piles up very quickly. Despite having lost her father, which is obviously devastating, Jeanne isn't doing anything to help her mother, who has lost her partner of over 40 years and who is recovering from major surgery. Jeanne is completely selfish, and claiming that she doesn't have time to think about the weight loss proves that. She couldn't make an effort for herself, let alone her poor mother. Ultimately, Jeanne fails Dr. Now's weight loss program, unable to stick to a diet outside of the hospital, hoping that the weight loss surgery would have been a quick fix. Jeanne is convinced that another opportunity will magically appear to cure her, but we all know the only real way out is through a calorie deficit, which she doesn't want to have. Now, if you want to see some people who actually made a real effort on My 600 Pound Life and changed their lives around for the better, click the video that's on your screen now to see the greatest transformations ever on My 600 Pound Life, and I'll see you in the next one.